Sun Rahu for the ascendants. So it's worth knowing that obviously Rahu rules the 11th house of the natural zodiac, co-rules it with Saturn. So Rahu rules part of Aquarius. So it's the 11th natural house of the zodiac if you're doing for the mundane. But obviously that'll be different for different ascendants. So let's have a look and just see what it's like for different ascendants, because it can create like really good yogas as well, for particularly for wealth. Okay, so for Aries ascendant, this brings together fifth house ruler Sun and Rahu together. So fifth and 11th house. So it's to do with investments, academia, and also groups of friends, children, that kind of thing. As long as it doesn't fall in the 6th house, then otherwise, and also I think it's not that great in the 12th house either, because it's the 11th house ruler in the 12th house will create problems. But in the what we'll do, the children will be of such like they will have children which have got this amazing intelligence, like out of this world. So they could have children who just like you sit them in front of a piano and they just like teach themselves. They can just be good at academia, science, literature, arts, just unbelievable children, because obviously fifth house is children. Also their academia could be slightly different. They could be in the creative artistic endeavors as well because of that. But they could also have groups of friends that are really artistic. So they could be like people who do, for example, they could do film, or groups of friends who do amateur dramatics. They will be really amazing friends. It's really pretty good. I mean, obviously, if it's got no difficult aspects to it, it could be really good for money actually, because fifth house and 11th house coming together is a trinal lord, and also 11th and 12th house are houses of money. So gains, big gains, big gains through their elder sibling, big gains through their friends, through children, through education, purva punya, like fifth house. So it's pretty amazing. Pretty much anywhere that it goes, it's going to be good. Don't really, obviously, 6th house will break it. 12th house is not good for the sun or for Rahu really, and because the 11th house connotations, and also in the 8th house, it just means that they gain money, they lose money, they gain investments, and stocks and shares will be really difficult. Or it could be suddenly good, but then again, the next day they could lose it all. So just be aware of that. For Taurus ascendant, so this is going to be 4th house ruler, so sun rules an angle, and now what happens is Rahu rules the 10th house with Saturn. So this is going to be very good in terms of home, family, and the career status. So I mean, if it was in the 10th house, Sun will have directional strength, Rahu will be in own sign. That'd be the strongest really. If it was kind of as it is now in the 4th house as well, obviously Sun rules the 4th house, Rahu is also there magnifying. So they could have multiple homes abroad. They could do innovation of homes, land, property, cars, etc., or the family money. It will also give you somebody who's got a very unusual mother, but they'd be different to everybody else, but they could just be beautifully different. I'm not at all. I don't like necessarily having conservatism in everything. So to me, that's pretty cool. And if it is like for example, in Virgo, Sun will be in the 5th house, 4th house will in the 5th house, creates a really good Raja Yoga. Loves to be in Virgo, and also Rahu does really well in Mercury signs, very friendly. In some texts, they say that it's actually it's exalted in those signs. So this will be again very good in terms like the career will increase their money and enjoyment out of everything. In the 2nd house will bring 11th the money out of home and cars and career and everything will be amazing. It'd be like they could just have family money, you know, family business as well. So as long as it's not in the sixth house, where sun will be debilitated, and also what will happen is it will break all the good yogas and everything. But what it will show will be like a career of devotion to the others, service, health, that kind of thing. And also more probably litigation, actually. Litigation, service to others. Yeah. Could also be nursing too. Okay, so for the next ascendant, and also I just wanted to say, even if it was in the 12th house and sun was exalted, I just think there is like, it just gives, it could be quite difficult, but it could also be that they have homes abroad, you know, that, or father lives abroad, or father was not available either, you know, so maybe they had to be in a like say for example in a boarding home or something like that, boarding school for their early education. Right, next one. And so Gemini ascendant, for you guys, sun rules the third house, Rahu rules ninth house. So it's all about travel, education, learning, that kind of thing. Shows how the father is, and also siblings. So there's that kind of thing. Is all the activities we do with friends and things. So sun Rahu will give you loads of friends, loads of important friends, or appear to be important anyway. But yeah, so, and actually if they're in the third house, they will be amazing in the sense that third house will be a difficult house, and now you've got two malefics really working at it, but you'll be outstanding at so many different third house things, which is really kind of excellent, inspirational speaker, a good counselor. It'd be somebody who will be able to inspire others in very unusual ways, will be able to make things with their hands, really unusual crafts. They can travel quite a lot, and also they'll just have loads of friends, loads of hobbies. They'll be so active and into all sorts. They into exploring anything really. And this will be because obviously a trinal lord is involved. If it is like, for example, in the 10th house here, it'd be amazing for because Rahu will give them a really wonderful Raja Yoga, 9th house rule in the 10th house. And their job will be to do with learning, education, that kind of thing. Sun will have directional strength, and it's in a friendly sign. And Rahu likes being in signs of Jupiter. If it is in the 7th house, Sun is not so strong in the 7th house, and Rahu will obviously give you loads of relationships, but it's the 7th house is a reflection of your 10th house of career. So in that fact, you can see that you'll be highly respected and highly regarded in your positions at work, how people see you. In obviously, again, we want to avoid the 6th house, which is Scorpio, because it breaks the yogas. However, it'll be somebody who'll be really amazing. They probably work for local government, something like that, in that sense, you know, like, or an institution of teaching, schools, university, maybe a professor or something like that. So pretty good really in that sense. So yeah, for them it's pretty good. In the 8th house, obviously it will give you a situation with your father or education where it's like constantly on off. You know, you could have a break in your relationship with your dad and then start again, or your dad, you could just misunderstand each other. The relationship can be a little bit odd. However, you know, it could also be that you know, it's your education. Maybe you continue with that later in life. Okay, so for next ascendant. Oh, here we go. This program just gets a bit confused sometimes. Right, so for Cancer ascendant. So Cancer ascendant, Sun is your 2nd house ruler. Money, family money, and your values. Rahu rules 8th house, so it's more to do with your in-laws really. So you know that also it's 8th house, sudden gain of money, sudden loss of wealth and money. and a little bit about, like, so your in-laws can be unusual, or you can suddenly gain through your in-laws, that kind of thing. And it's also the income, it's just like the family background of your spouse as well. So it could just be that the family have what you might call is like, you will inherit something through them. But it's obviously, eighth house can also be house of money too. There'll be something unusual about your in-laws as well. They'll be different to your own family, very different. And so for going back again to you guys, as long as, sorry, Cancer Ascendants, that was quite brief, wasn't it? So, but as long as it doesn't fall into the sixth house or the 12th house, this could be pretty good, because obviously if you fall, say for example, in the fourth house, and what will happen is in the fourth house is some will be quite weak there, but what will happen is some will have an aspect onto the 10th house, which is really good. In the 10th house, some will have directional strength, will be exalted. Rahu will also be 8th house ruler in the 10th house. So you could be sudden gain of a really magnificent career, but it could also be loss of that as well. It could be lots of secret things about your job, ups and downs in your career, that kind of thing. But as long as it doesn't fall in the sixth house, or for me, I think 12th house can be a little bit difficult too, because there'll be some secrets. And because also this is the second house. So as soon as you're gaining money, saving money, there will be some expenses coming up. So if you have that situation, just be aware that you always do well to be saving, and actually just make sure you don't get yourself in a situation where you just keep spending, and then you get yourself so you can't cope with it. And that gives you like even more addiction issues, where you're trying to hide things but spending more. So do I really need something? Whenever you go to some form of expense, you always just sort of think, do I really need this? That would be good. Right, for Leo ascendant, so Sun rules first house and Rahu rules seventh house. So together they create a Raja Yoga anyway. As long as it doesn't fall into Capricorn, which is the sixth house, then it's going to create lovely Raja Yoga. And what will happen is it pretty much in any house would be good. In the third house, some will be debilitated, Rahu will be strong. But because they are both malefics, eventually it really makes you shine. And all those issues that you had, where you might have been a little bit like exaggerating about like with your words and communication, then you actually find that once you do the work on yourself and everything else, you can really shine, and you could just really become that brave. Because there's a lack of bravery actually, that it could make one really try and sort of puff things up to make them look bigger than what they are. But with time, you can definitely achieve that. And this will be pretty good, like when they go, like for example, in the fifth house, it will create a really good Dana Yoga, Raja Yoga, if that kind of thing. So, and in the 10th house will be amazing. Some will have directional strength. Rahu loves being in Taurus, loves Venus. So yeah, that will be really good. They could have a really exceptional, I think Donald Trump has exceptional, I really love directional strength. And in his chart, he's got sun with directional strength, moon with directional strength. And actually, because moon is in the fourth house, it is debilitated, but it's past debilitation sign. So it could just show that mum could have, in his early years had some struggles or something. But as long as it's not in the 6th or 12th house, should be absolutely fine. And it just does bring some amazing things for them. And even in the 8th house, because what will happen is it will create lots of ups and downs, because Rahu just expands everything, and it could just obviously create a divorce as well. But they learn, eighth house is a house that malefics can work on really hard and achieve things. Again, 12th house can be, issues with self-confidence or that kind of thing. So the person hides away quite a bit, that kind of, but spirituality will really help them rise. Okay, next ascendant. So for Virgo ascendant, this will be like 12th house ruler sun, Rahu rules 6th house. So by the nature of things, both planets have that maleficness. And Rahu, just because it rules the sixth house, it just obviously creates issues anyway, so breaks yogas. But it will be to do with work. So in the sixth house, if they're in there, obviously Rahu is in own sign, Sun is also aspecting the 12th house, protecting it. So that could be one of the better ones. They're both malefic, so it'd be really good for work, service to the others. They could work for the government for sure, some sort of learning and education center. Maybe they work in the prison service, some sort of form of governmental department, which is a bit secretive, that or even aviation. That kind of thing. So by the nature of it will be difficult, but because 12th house ruler Sun will then be in the sixth house, or even in the 8th house will be the same, because Sun will be exalted. It creates a Viparit Raj yoga. So they go through early years of like difficulties, ups and downs, and even the 6th house, they could just create a lot of obstacles for themselves, a lot of debts, maybe even some form of addiction or things like that. Or they could be highly dedicated to helping others. And eventually things will unfold and they work through those difficult karmas and absolutely fine. So yeah, but it's probably, you know, if it is, say for example, if it's in the 4th house, then you know that the mother's health could have been, you know, health issues. Maybe they had litigation issues. Maybe you know, there were some problems with the house. You know, they had some big mortgages and things like that. They got out of control with payments and things, but they can overcome things just because both planets are quite malefic. But the more malefic the sign is, the better in that sense. Like they could also live, work abroad as well. Next ascendant will be Libra. 11th house ruler Sun, and Rahu rules 5th house. So you can see straight away, this is again very similar to Aries ascendant, where it brings a trinal and the house of money together. So it's good for money. As long as it doesn't fall in the 1st house, that would be amazing, because obviously Sun is debilitated in the 1st house. And obviously if it falls in the 1st house, it just means that there's massive struggles to in the early years to kind of, you know, until Sun, you know, at least 25, and then it gets better with time again. But definitely I would say the older they are, the better they feel, and realize who they are, what they are, because they might try and sort of mimic their friends a little bit to you know, just try and have those groups of friends where they feel, you know, they're important, so you got to give them status. So they could be driven by friends, you know, what people have rather than what they really are, and that could be very poor foundation to begin with. But they'll work through it, just because malefics in the end, wherever they are, they help you sustain a lot really, and claim what's rightfully yours once you know you stand in your own feet, not other people's feet. You know, in the 6th house, obviously what will happen is it'll create problems with the money, because this is education, children, wealth, etc. The 5th and 11th house ruler together. In the 6th house, it will create sort of issues with those kind of things. But it could also be that you teach young children, you know, you're a teacher at the school, you work for the government, you know, in some form of finance thing. But you know, I mean, if it's connected to also the 10th house, for example, if it goes into Cancer or being aspected by the moon, what will happen is that, you know, the job could be to do with banking as well. So next ascendant. Okay, so for Scorpio ascendant, this is going to be like 10th house ruler and also 4th house ruler. So it brings 2 angle rulers together. So this is going to be somebody who can, if it's in one of those angles, you know, that the job could be, if it is in Leo, this could be a governmental job, or they could be a boss. These people will not do well working for the others, or early years they might do it to get their experience and then go. But Sun in the 10th house, their own sign and directional strength, so it's really, really strong. Rahu also gives them that amazing job eventually. So, but it does take time. And in their 4th house, Sun will be aspecting own sign. Rahu will be in own sign, fourth house. So again, the job could be to do with cars, homes, property, land, that kind of thing, or even farms as well. And the sixth house will be where Sun is exalted. So if he falls there, you know this person is going to have an amazing governmental job, whether it's going to be education or health, something like that. It's going to be amazing. They're going to be quite pioneering in their job, particularly in Bharani. In Ashwini, the first 13 degrees 20 of Aries is more healing. In the second half, there could be more like surgery, things like that. But anyway, but it will break the yogas if it's the sixth house thing, but it will get better with time. But they'll be very quite competitive. And and you'll never beat them. So in terms of jobs in litigations and things like that, there'll be a literally unbelievable type of lawyer. That's just so. But in the 12th house, some will be debilitated, so it's not particularly good. And it just means that there's something secret about their job, you know, so bear that in mind. And something secret about their soul planet, you know, Sun is our soul planet, something secret about dad, or, you know, it could be that you also live abroad or deal with land abroad as well. But as long as I think it's not in the 6th or the 12th house, will be fine. In the 6th house, though, although it breaks things, but it'd be a very dedicated person to actually healing others. So next one. For Sagittarius ascendant, Sun rules the 9th house, so it's a trinal lord. It's very important. And what happens? Rahu rules the 3rd house. So this is all about education, learning, travel, belief system. So you know that your belief systems are going to be different to your dad. You're going to have unusual belief system. And or your dad could be literally somebody who was misunderstood by the family, or you could be misunderstood by the family. But however, this is somebody who's constantly learning, loves speaking foreign languages, traveling, has loads of friends in different countries from the, you know, foreign backgrounds, and has got this knowledge that just, you know, craves to learn. If he goes in the 10th house in Virgo, that's going to be amazing. Sun creates a massive Raja Yoga, directional strength in a friendly sign. Rahu will be in a friendly sign, so this can work really well. And it's also an Upachaya house, 10th house, so it just gets better and better with time. Now, with in regards with any other signs, obviously in the 6th house will not be great for any yogas. However, it'd be really good for being a teacher, being of service to the people, being a doctor and medic, you know, in some sort of learning, like a professor or something like that will be amazing. Don't particularly like the Sun in the 12th house just because of the teachings of my own teacher, but it could just be that a father who's like maybe from foreign background or lives abroad, something like that, or maybe for your education you went abroad. In the 6th house as well, those can create some issues, but otherwise in other houses they could be pretty good. And even in the 8th house, basically this is a friendly sign to the Sun. And what will happen, although it can kind of be difficult for dads or education, so dad's health, education can be abruptly stopped or something like that, stop starting the education. However, you know, with time things will get better because Sun and Rahu are malefics and they can give a lot of oomph, a lot of push to achieve what you want, you know, through sort of misfortunes of the 8th house and letting go and learning to just like welcome change in life. Capricorn ascendant. So for you guys, this is going to be 2nd house ruler Rahu and 8th house ruler the Sun. So this is like money houses. Or the 8th house could be a money house because sudden gain, inheritance, tax, in-laws, something like that you can gain from them. But you can also suddenly lose it too. So you can suddenly have a big tax bill too. But it shows the nature of the in-laws. So you know that they come from sort of really good heritage, Leo being like nobility, quite respected family, quite well-to-do. But there'll be something secret about them, you know. because they'd be unusual as well, because Rahu being with them if it is there. If it goes in the sixth house, obviously in Gemini, will not be great in terms of any kind of yogas or, you know, so for example, it could, you know, I mean, it's a second house ruler, isn't it? So that could bring money. So, but it could bring some debts and some obstacles to get that money and stuff like that. And so basically, as long as it doesn't fall into the 12th house, because obviously that means that as soon as you earning the money, it's being spent. So it creates that hole in the pocket, that kind of thing. So you've got to be careful about, because it also shows addiction. Second house is what you eat, and Rahu is addiction. So there's somebody who actually takes drugs, abuse alcohol, or has got a food issue too. But it'd be quite secretive too, because eighth house ruler will be involved. So it's not that good in the 12th house. But in the 11th house will be really good, because Sun loves being in Scorpio, friendly sign. And what will happen is second house ruler is in the 11th house, and all three of them are money houses. So it could just literally suddenly they gain money through the groups of friends that they have. They could have some secret society friends too. But yeah, I mean, in the if the second house ruler is in the 5th house, for example, that's a Dana yoga. If it's in the 9th house too, that's another Dana yoga. And obviously in the 11th house, that's again a Dana yoga. So it's good for money, as long as it's not 6th house or 12th house. Okay, so Aquarius for you guys is 1st house ruler Rahu and 7th house ruler the Sun. So if they're in the 1st or 7th house, you know that's kind of gives you a Raja yoga. If it goes into the 4th house, 5th house, again, Raja yogas created, or even done yoga in the 5th house. And in the 6th house in Cancer, it will break the yogas, because the 6th house does. Also it could create like relationships that are a bit argumentative, if you like. In the and obviously Sun does really well in the 10th house. In Scorpio will be amazing. Sun will have directional strength, so it gives a really strong career. And in the 9th house it'll be good, because 7th house ruler is in the 9th house, and 1st house ruler in the 9th house, so it creates Raja and Dana yoga. And in the 11th house will be good. Both of them do well in Jupiter's sign, so that will be good. In the 2nd house will be good too. So in the 12th and 6th house, I would say that will be the most difficult. But again, you know, we work with them because they are malefics and they can make us achieve things. Okay, for Pisces ascendant, so this is going to be like 6th house ruler Sun and 12th house ruler Rahu. So, you know, immediately the yoga that it's going to create is a Viprit Raj yoga. So if it falls in the 12th, 6th or 8th house, it's even better. Obviously the other houses, they can both damage the house a little bit, you know. So if it's in the 1st house, you've got to look after yourself, your health and vitality. If it's in the second house, a family, and money. If it's in the 3rd house, it could just be that, you know, you can't, you know, you can promise the world. Second, the same as well. So you could actually just be careful that you don't over exaggerate things that you promise people and tell, you know, because it could, you know, Rahu is a real malefic planet there. They're going to work better in the 2nd house, but definitely in the 3rd house, Sun will be in bad situation there and will be corrupted by Rahu. But it does get better with time, because 3rd house is an Upachaya house. In the 4th house, obviously, it could mean that there's going to be issues about sustaining the home, mother's health, father's health, family health. Basically, family could have gone through some difficult times. But it could also be a family who's devoted to the homeland and helping others. So it could be somebody whose mother is a nurse and works in a hospital. In the 5th house, you know, there could be that there was some difficulties with assets and investments, not really good at dating, maybe, maybe, you know, you have children a bit later. And in the 6th house, they both will be in good situation there. Rahu protecting 12th house, Sun is in own house. So that would be a really career in the with the government. In the 7th house will just show that there could be some issues in relationship. In the first relationship, you're learning about relationships really, and you're learning not to create your own obstacles when dealing with other people. In the 8th house, obviously this is Sun is going to be debilitated, but again, you know, it creates a Viparis Raj Yoga, and somebody who's actually Sun debilitated is not such a bad thing. It brings the ego down a little bit, and it's fine. So it could be quite a humble person, but you know, through some difficulties, you just work things out really. In the 9th house, so Sun, obviously, it could be somebody who studies law, justice, that kind of thing, education, somebody who's an educator. In the 10th house, obviously, some will have directional strength. It will be somebody who is a professor, teacher, religious theology, that kind of teacher. In the 11th house, yeah, you know that it's not great for gains and things, and there could be some discord with the elder sibling, or even like it'd be difficult for you to hold on to what you gain, you know, so you've got to work at that. It gets better. 11th and 12th house are both upachaya houses as well, so they get better with time. In the 12th house, you know, so it could be that you work as a doctor or medic, that kind of thing, in a hospital, in a prison service, something like that. But you know, it could also be that your dad could have had some sort of issue and ended up there too. So this is all about Rahu, Sun for different ascendants. Thank you.